Hey everyone, Dr. Chesrob is here. I want to get straight to the positions, to the examples. Which imbalance matters the most? It's the material. You will ask me why. The easy example is the money. Two people started a business. One has $100, the other one has 100,000. What do you think? Who has more opportunities? Extra materials gives you similar advantage. That's it. So I want to introduce to a rule that will be very important to consider before each move, at least lots of times during the game. So the abbreviation CCA, CCA, captures, checks, aggressive or attacking moves. You can tell me or ask me like why. Captures to win more material. Checks in order to create threats against the king to checkmate, or again try to win the material doing some kind of double attack. And of course aggressive attacking moves, because without attacking moves, active moves, it's very hard to create threats in order to win the material. It's nearly impossible. So try to make it a habit. You will get much better in chess doing that, and if you will create that habit, you will be much better to find those opportunities. Winning material, try to win a material if it's like very safe. Always check for the traps, because sometimes the free chase is in a trap, it's a mouse trap, so be very careful about that. Make sure that whenever you create a threat and then you will take the material, you have an escape route, you have a path to come back. So now in this position, I'm gonna try to use the same abbreviation, the same habit in order to get the win of the material. Captures, checks, attacking aggressive moves. What kind of captures do I have? Bishop takes b7, that's one. B takes a5 is the second. I will think about bishop takes b7 more, so I don't want to double up my pawns. About the checks, queen d5 check, queen a2, queen c4, a lot of moves already. Maybe I will not consider aggressive moves, but let's say some move like queen e7 can be quite good. And if we're winning, a material, especially with our minor or heavy pieces, think, is there a trap? Can he cut out our escape squares or not? If he can't, we're safe. Another important thing, try to not lose too much time if you're taking just a pawn. Let's say you took a pawn, you mustn't do like 10 moves in order to escape. If you're going to take a queen, sure, it's worth it, because you will win 9 points instead of 1. So after bishop captures b7, black has a move pawn c6, the most critical move. If rook b8, bishop g2, I'm absolutely fine. Nothing will happen here. I won an extra pawn, didn't even lose time. It's great for white. If pawn goes to c6, queen c4 check, in between move to attack the pawn and the king at the same time. Let's say black plays the move d5, then king captures c6. We won the second pawn. Our bishop will escape because we have the c6 square to come back, the a6 square to come back later on. The pawn on d5 is hanging. Maybe we will win the third pawn as well. So it's going to be very good for white. The first and probably the most important imbalance, the material. Let's jump to the next one and see what's going on. The next one that I want to introduce you is superior minor piece. Oh my god, this is gonna go for centuries. Which one is a better superior minor piece, the knight or the bishop? Is it better to have an archer in the video game, or like ninja or assassin? Eternal rivalry. Which one is the best team? Who's the best boxer? Who's the best player? I don't know. Which one is the best car? Which one is the best country, best city to live, etc., etc. We will have this all the time. Same thing is in chess. Remember, the knights like the closed positions, the bishops like the open positions. We'll talk about it later when we'll talk about these concepts in details. Here in these positions, black's bishop is bad. It's horrible to have such a bishop. You can see that it's sentenced to life behind its own pawn chain, while white's knight can jump over, enjoys a complete freedom, can go from one dominant square to another, with more space across the board. literally white controls everything. The b7 square, with the pawns, d7 square, e6 square, c6, g6, and look at this bishop. The bishop does the same function as the pawns, which is not good. They need to combine. They mustn't do the same thing. And in this position, white can add more pressure and attack the vulnerable spots even more by playing the move rook b1, trying to get to the 7th rank. Again, we'll talk about this later. So the rook is on the 7th rank. The rook will attack most of the pawns, and black's position becomes so bad it will slowly, or maybe quite fast, fall apart. So white is winning. Superior minor piece. In this position, knight was much better than the bishop. Let's get to the next one. This one is about the pawn structure. Probably my favorite. As the first world champion, Wilhelm Steinitz said, maybe it wasn't him, but I read it somewhere that it was him, that the pawns are the souls of chess. You know why? Because we have 8 of them. They can shape the different pawn structures, and then can shape or reshape the position. So it's very important to understand different pawn structures. So we will talk now about one of the most fundamental plans, ideas here, which is the isolated pawn. So the pawn on e6 is isolated, and why it's called isolation. So it has no support. It's not connected to anybody. It's like a single tree standing alone in the open field. So the wind, strong wind, will just bring it down because it's fully exposed to it. But if we have a forest, like lots of trees together, they will defend each other. They can slow down the wind. Whenever you see such a target, always think it's very weak and just try to pile against it. Use your rooks, bishops, knights, only not a pawn if the pawn is not pinned, because if you will use your pawn, he'll just capture it. You will get nowhere. Playing a move like f5 will do nothing. So I'm going to play the move bishop h3 to pin the pawn. The pawn is paralyzed, can't move, otherwise he's going to lose the queen, which is even better for us. So please play the move pawn to e5. Rook goes to e8, rook fe2. Rook g e7, queen e1. Both rooks, queen and the bishop are attacking it. Knight goes to d8. Even if I'm not going to win the pawn, I will force his pieces to get back and have a more passive position. So we'll hit 2 targets at the same time. We can win a material by attacking the pawn and again. For example, playing the move knight g5, bringing the 5th piece in order to attack the pawn. Or at least we will make his position much less active. The pieces are going to be quite bad, passive, because they will jump back instead of coming up, moving forward and attack our position. So this is what you can do against the isolated pawn. Let's go for the next one. This is from one of my games on chess.com. I would say it's a textbook example of using another important concept, which is closely connected to the pawn structure. This is the power of space. Look how many advanced pawns I have. All of them crossed the board. It means that I will start to control some squares from my opponent's end on his half of the board, which is extremely important. So black's pieces are so cramped. The bishop, only one diagonal, 3, 4 available squares. King can't get to e8 to help the knight. The knight can't move. On the other hand, I can coordinate my pieces. I have plenty of room to maneuver. My knight can jump out. My king can move. I can break through with my pawn, pushing the pawn from d5 to d6. I can jump with the knight to c4 and then capture the pawn on b6. He can't do anything. So white has lots of ways to create an entry and eventually make black's weaknesses even more weak, or just capture them. And this spatial advantage will be decisive. So white's going to win the game. So this one was about the pawn structure and space advantage. Let's get to the next one. This position is a perfect example of an outpost. Let's try to understand what the outpost is. It's a square. It is deep in your opponent's territory. It's not defended by any of his pawns, and your pawn defends that square. So know his pawns, your pawn defends it, it's in his territory. If you can control, that's going to be phenomenal. Who likes the outpost? Usually the knights. Just love them. The knights are amazing there. So whenever you will get an outpost, it's like you have a spy deep behind the enemy lines with diplomatic immunity. And your opponent can't either chase it away or needs to do like tons of moves in order to get there. So your knight can just sit there, have a very comfortable, easy life, and just cause trouble all the time. What we're going to do as white, stop the video and think about it. Okay, I'm going to tell you. Knight f3, with the idea to play knight to g5, king goes to g8, knight g5, and knight e6. Now we're in this amazing outpost. Knight is phenomenal. Rook e8, pawn f5. If black wants to take out the knight, they need to lose more material, which is even worse for it. So this knight is extremely strong. Outpost becomes like a fortress in the middle of the board. The pawns will defend the knight. It's incredibly hard to remove it. Sometimes it's just impossible. And you can control the entire battlefield. Later, you will just bring the rook, bring the queen, start an attack on the king side, because black's king side is quite weak and we have an extra pawn there. Let's get to the next one. Okay, the next one is about the open file. White seems to have a positional advantage because our pieces are a bit more active, plus we have more space. But it's very, very hard to win such a position because black doesn't have a weakness. Their position is very solid. Also, we have the opposite colored bishops, which gives additional chances for black, to equalize the game. And if black will change the pace of the game and eventually play the move like the rook d to e8 and try to control at least the open file and remove our rooks, the position can become completely equal. For example, king g2, rook e8 takes, queen takes. Our rooks are gone, our activity is gone, the game is equal. That's why what we're gonna do in this position as white, we need to try to control the only open file. It's like a bridge across a river. Whoever controls it controls the entire traffic. So your opponent can't cross it without running into your pieces, without some repercussions at least. In order to control the open file, use your heavy pieces, but also try to control the key square with your minor piece. Bishop a4. That's the key square because both rooks and the queen are aiming for it. We control the open file. We have much better game, and white has good chances to play for a win. We have a decent advantage. It's going to be hard because black's position is still quite solid, but it's much better for white. Let's get to the final two. I want to talk about the exposed king. White's so good. Everybody likes the positions where we can attack. Why not? Let's try to checkmate. Let's finish the game as soon as possible. And we know some interesting like opening traps. So when we're aiming for the king immediately, for example, like fried liver attacks, some gambits, the Scotch gambit, for example. There are some other gambits as well. So what we need to do? Try to aim for the king whenever you see open diagonals or files. In some positions, it's going to be extremely efficient. So e4, e5, f4, white's going to play king's gambit. Whenever I see something like this, immediately there is like a yellow or red light in my head and just like beeping like this, turning on and turning off. It's like some kind of signal telling me, oh, Robert, you can attack the king. You can attack the king. Think about it. Think of the ways to get the king. And if I'm going to be successful, I can finish the game quite fast. So after king gambit, we can play the move pawn d5, which is called Falkbear's counter gambit. And white's best move is e takes d5 here. If they capture f takes c5, this is really bad because after queen h4, white's position is completely lost. Here we have an exposed king. It gives, us countless attacking opportunities, so we can try to checkmate our opponent or use the checkmate ideas at least to win some material or like lots of material. After the move g3, just queen e4 check, double attack, and we will get the rook. The game is over. Congratulations. And if king e2, this one can be even worse, because after queen e4 check, king goes to f2, then bishop c5 check. Why its only move is king g3, then queen e5 check. It's either a checkmate, we already won a pawn, so or we will win a lot of material. Next move is like king to h4, or I'm going to try like g5, and it's going to be checkmate soon, or at least we will get a queen or something else. So you can check it out how to win this position. Exposed king. Whenever you see some open diagonals and files, try to attack. And the last one, which I want to talk about, is going to be this one. Development. It's very important to develop your pieces as soon as possible, because that way you will create threats. That way you can checkmate. That way you can try to create threats in order to win the material. So remember that even one inactive piece is like having an extra player, which is on your team, but is on the bench, sitting on the bench. So if you will remember that, you will try to develop your minor pieces very fast, take the center, then castle, bring the rooks out, bring the queen. It's a teamwork. This is like a team game. Play with everybody. So have a great teamwork. e4, e5, knight f3. I'm going to flip the board. Knight c6, d4. Scotch game, Scotch gambit can be a possibility. Both sides develop. White wants to take the center. And instead of capturing or playing bishop c4, which is going to be a Scotch gambit, white plays the move c3. D takes c3, so we sacrificed one pawn already, even if we capture, so we're down a pawn. Bishop c4, c takes b2, bishop captures b2. This is called Danish gambit. In my opinion, it's a dream for aggressive players, especially if you're playing blitz, because under time restraint, it's going to be very hard for your opponent to manage the position. You can see that we have lightning fast development, very aggressive bishops. The knight will jump to g5 and then attack the f7 pawn. The queen can come to help, we can bring it to d5 or b3, creating a battery, creating checkmate threats. So black's king is under heavy fire. Both f7 and g7 squares are pretty weak. So we sacrificed 2 pawns, but we got better development. Development means time. If you can have an open position, that time advantage can be much more important than the advantage in the material. Yeah, it's very sharp, exciting, and a lot of fun to play, as I said, especially for blitz. So I want to say, cheers for Danish Gambit fans out there, and I'll see you in the next video. Ciao.